if you missed this, Kaylin and I are hosting MLS After Dark tonight. We are in the same place at the same time. I am back in the BK, and we got together. We had some dinner. We watched some MLS together, and we were super pumped to do this. And now we had to leave the room because
Susanna, luckily my apartment is so huge. I'm in the West Wing now. You can
he is
go enjoy the whole other side.
across the hall. Oh, this is amazing. But he had very good beer to share with me, and I'm super grateful. And yeah, buddy, great to, I guess, be in the same, space as you. Can't see your
Yeah,
face, but this is amazing. We've got a lot to talk about. There were some really fun games
yeah.
tonight.
No, we saw some good ones. We saw some teams get off to some great starts. I'm looking at you, Houston Dynamo,
Oh boy.
and then have it kind of come collapsing down. And we saw some strong debuts as well.
Okay. Do you want? Should we start with the Texas Derby? Should we start with Dallas Houston?
Let's get it over with.
I mean,
Yeah,
I know this. Yeah, that's what I figured. Because I mean, obviously, we know your heart's with Houston. And it was looking good. It was looking good for your Dynamo, Kalen. Dallas did not look great. Especially like the first 30 minutes of this one, I was like, oof. Houston looked real. They look like they have a purpose. They look organized. I was feeling it, and then I feel so. This Memo Rodriguez shot that hit the post that possibly should have been a goal. I need to get your thoughts on it because it would have changed the entire complexion of this match had it counted.
yeah. No, I mean the first half did start well for the Dynamo. I like the way Nagamura has them set up. Difficult to kind of play through them, and then a nice kind of tidy finish by Ferreira where he takes that first touch very well, keeps it close to him, and then finishes well as well. And then Memo comes on and he has free kick ability, right? We've seen him in
Yeah.
the past being able to even from not from dead ball situations be able to bang some in, but he actually slips as he hits this. But it goes and hits the crossbar. To me, watching it, and yes, I do have orange colored lenses on this. It looked in. It looked into me. Like it looked like it crossed the line. I was looking on Twitter and I saw like some screen grabs of the
Yeah.
situation. Some of them looked. I mean, I can't say any of them were like necessarily conclusive,
Clear
which
and
is
obvious.
yeah. But it wasn't ruled as a goal, so I think that's where it became tough to overturn. But for me, it looked like it was across the line.
It's just, I mean, if you were monitoring Twitter and social media, I mean, Houston fans were definitely pissed off. And I think there's a case for that for sure. I think it probably could have been called either way. Like you said, like none of the like sort of screen grabs were like very convincing either way, but it was damn close. I mean, and it, like I said, it would have changed like the entire complexion of the game because what it did, we all know that a 1-0 lead is very dangerous, and it allowed Dallas to kind of get their footing and play their way back into this one. And it was, I mean, all of a sudden, sort of the last 20 minutes of this game got a little crazy. And I mean, you've got to give credit to Dallas. They found some unlikely heroes. I hope I pronounce this right. Siki in Sabeleng. That was his first MLS goal. So this is a kid. He was the last pick in the first round of the 2022 MLS Super Draft. So he got the equalizer, and then Facundo Quignon, who he's an Argentine. He joined the club last year, I believe. He has not scored a goal since 2014, Kalen, and this was his first goal with Dallas, and he scored that in extra time. So the Ensemblant goal was in the 87th minute. This goal from Quignon came in extra time. I mean, it was just what a comeback. I know it pains you to talk about it, but you gotta give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, no, it was brutal. Steve Clark did a good job. I thought he had come up with some pretty big saves leading up to it. Does spill the one for the first goal, but kind of hard to blame him. I think the shot was taken well and kind of came across him. But yeah, it's frustrating for the Dynamo, and I think it's still it's we haven't beat Dallas on the road there since I was playing in 2011.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
and do you know who scored the game-winning goal in that game?
Kalen
No,
Carr.
Jeff Cameron. But
Oh,
thought I'd at least
damn it.
uh, give it a go. Um, but
I thought that was going to be a glorious opportunity for you to like just,
yeah,
totally do a little humble brag, but
I mean, I was
dang.
around there. I was there. I was like, I may have driven like, kind of brought a man away from Jeff to open things up for him. But
Okay,
yeah,
all right, you played a part.
thank you. Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because I had been on extra time and was kind of asked to give my rankings of the Texas teams. I know we're about to move on from this game, hopefully soon. Um, but I had put Austin number one, Dallas number two, and Houston number three, and I think today still kind of reinforced that for me, where you see
Really?
Austin having another great performance at home. Dallas, maybe not playing their best, but still finding a way to get results. And I think that's been
Yeah.
kind of an MO for them. They really haven't
Yep.
found necessarily all the ways like convincing performances, but they found timely goals and found moments to win games. And Houston, I think, has a great foundation and looks much improved. But still, I think they're kind of fighting a little bit of a longer history of some darker moments and still can get caught in situations like this where the margins are still tight. And Steve Clark, I think, closes some of those margins for them because I think he's a much improved, I mean, he's a MLS champion. So, and he was really good, but just those late moments, I think, are going to be something that is going to pay in Houston for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And it's true. I mean, I don't think we have not seen a complete, like sort of 90 minutes of Dallas playing their best football yet this season. But to your point, like, when you can still get results, when you can still get points when you're not playing your best, I mean, it's a good sign. It bodes well for them. I think overall, I feel like both of these teams are in much better places than they were last year, and I feel like that's a positive that we all can agree on. Yes,
Yes, no, I mean all of Texas,
all of
definitely.
Texas. Okay, this is a perfect segue. So let's talk about Austin, huh?
Let's do it.
Because Austin has now won 3 matches in a row. They just a decisive 3-0 win over Vancouver at home. They are unbeaten in their last 5 games, I believe. Let me check my little stat sheet. Yep, unbeaten in their last 5. 3 goals on the day, 2 from Maxi Arudi, which you love to see. Sebastian Drusi with the 3rd goal. He also had an assist on one of the Arudi goals. I mean, Austin is they're feeling themselves, Kaylin. They've been really fun to watch.
Yeah, and when you look at last season, I think they had the lowest goals. Maybe Houston was 1 goal less in the entire league. I think New England had double the amount of goals that Austin did last year,
Whoa.
maybe even more than that. So that was kind of like the big question for them was like, had they done enough in the offseason to go out and get enough goals to like really kind of honestly just to like challenge for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Austin has the most goals in the league. Got 20 goals now. It's just been,
Incredible.
and we saw it from the very beginning of the season where they came out and were just kind of like running over teams, but they've continued to run that good run of form. I think last week was a big one going on the road. Yes, DC I think was down a man, but to
Yeah.
come back and get that result was huge to prove that what they can do away from home, and then they carry that home form back. And I would say Rudy has been one of the like sneaky underrated signings.
Totally.
I mean, like he's scored goals everywhere he's been, and he's been to all 3 Texas teams, by the way.
He's made the rounds in the Lone
But he
Star
fits
State.
with this team really well. Like I think the way that they are able to, he's always been excellent with like his energy and movement.
Yeah.
When you look at the way that Austin can kind of like hypercharge, go from one end to the other, it's actually pretty different than some of the ways that we saw even Josh Wolf's system, where I think he's they go end to end really quickly now, where
Yeah.
they don't necessarily need to build all the time through possessions and patterns of play, although they can do that. But they have the pieces with Driussi and Fagundes and Arudi to like really kind of and Dominguez. They have a bunch of weapons that can really go end to end. And yeah, I mean Vancouver, a whole other story where their back line has just
Oh,
been a big problem. But you got to give Austin a ton of credit.
huge amount of credit. What do you like about Sebastian Driussi? Because I feel like he has been a real difference maker for this Austin team this year. We saw it kind of at the end of the season last year, but he's been playing really well in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, he's I don't know. I was trying to think of like a comparison for him, and I couldn't really find it. But I mean, there oftentimes you see guys like that that come from sometimes even a little bit of a deep lying position, but we see guys that generally are more like facilitators. But he seems to have he has that like knack for getting in the right place and scoring goals, and yeah, he's just super dynamic and fits. I think he fits the system really well. So yeah, he's been amazing for them so far.
Love it. Love it. All right. Good things in Austin. Listen, we can feel good. We can feel good about soccer in Texas at this point. Let's move it along to, oh man, this one's tough for me. Probably tough for you too. Another one of your former teams. Minnesota against Chicago, and Minnesota walking away with this is another 3-0 result. Let's talk about the positive first, because for Minnesota, I think after a slow start to the season, we have kind of seen them just sort of revived. And a lot of that, I think a massive part of that is the reemergence of Emmanuel Reynoso, who, when he is playing well, is a difference maker. Adrian Heath has said, this is an MVP caliber player, and he's looked inspired. He's looked happy. He looks like the guy that we know that he's capable of playing. Just, I mean, he's all over the place, and he just makes things happen for them, Kalen.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I saw they were showing on the broadcast that his family had arrived, and
Yeah,
yeah, I thought that was interesting, just because sometimes you don't always know what's going on with a player off the pitch to
yeah,
understand how that can affect your life on the pitch, and so that makes sense. And but so much of it goes through him, and when we've been critical of Minnesota in the past, it's been that it's over reliance on him. But then at the same time, it's like he's such a brilliant player that he makes everyone else around him better. Where you see Robin Lod is a better player, I think, when Reynoso is drawing attention, when he's beating guys off the dribble, and then just like when you get when you get an opportunity where it was really the one play where Olmsberg made like the only mistake he really made the entire game. And it's just one bad pass or one interception, and it goes to Reynoso top of the box, and like from there, confident he's going to finish that. And then it went from bad to worse for the Fire, just because it felt
yeah.
like they were, they went down a man, and I don't know. What did you see? I mean, are you concerned about the Fire as a
Yes,
fellow
yes,
Chicagoan?
yes,
Because
I am.
it's like
Yeah,
the back line has been so sturdy, like
yeah.
giving up,
It's
I think,
just
the least goals in MLS until today.
Well,
And
they had
then,
only given up 2 goals all season, and then they give up three today. But Kalen, the thing, like, they can't score.
yeah,
They can't score, and that's a problem because you gotta score goals to win games. And I don't know. I don't know uh, how does this offense get it together? What are the conversations like with Ezra Hendrickson and this club? I know they're coming off. It's been a tough week. It's been a rough week. They got bounced from U.S. Open Cup, and in dramatic fashion, they were pissed off about that loss, and now this, getting a kind of a thrashing from Minnesota, unable to score goals. I'm trying to see how many goals they have scored this entire season. Let's see. Goals for Chicago Fire. How many have they scored? 5 goals all season? That's not good. That's not good, Kaylin. It's not good.
no,
Like at some point, I mean, I like Shakiri was back in there, which is great. I do think that he is capable of kind of injecting some life into that offense, but we're still not quite sure how fit he is. I don't know. Like what how do you fix this? Like you scored goals for the Fire, Kaylin. Like do we bring you back? Do we bring the helmet back? Is it time?
That was the headband.
The
That's a different
headband.
era.
This was
Different era.
okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
was that was the
It's
headband version.
confusing. I know
Well,
there was a
yeah, that
lot of
was when we had
different.
like curly locks, and then the headband kind of pushed back. That's right. The Fire posted some amazing throwback photos this past week from your U.S. Open Cup victory, and you drinking from the trophy, I believe, like from the cup, and your hair was
Yeah.
really quite special. If you haven't checked those out, those are up on the Chicago Fire Insta page.
The
Highly.
drinking, I don't think they didn't post the drinking ones. Those
Did
are
they
on my
not?
story.
Did you just
I put them on
repost those?
Twitter. Yeah, I put them on
That's
Twitter.
what.
They sent
Okay.
them to me. Yeah,
Oh,
but
that was
they
nice.
posted a nice PG family friendly photo of
Okay.
the trophy.
Well,
Um, but it actually does remind me a little bit of a situation when I was playing with the team was when we had Blanco and McBride,
yeah,
and two incredible players, absolute all-time legends for their respective countries, and I would add for the Fire as well. But they didn't really fit together well.
yeah,
They found a way to make it work, but I would say McBride was much more of the type that we saw throughout his career. That was a guy that really needed service, especially from wide play, getting balls in the box, and Blanco was more of a guy that needed somebody to kind of stretch the field to
yeah,
create space underneath. And the only thing I was thinking I was glad to see Shaqiri back, and I understand he's coming off a calf injury, which is a muscle injury, which is a little bit tricky to kind of figure out. But
yeah,
him and Shabilko haven't really created much of a partnership to this
yeah,
point, and I just think that when I look at this front four, so um, there's just not any real dynamic piece to really stretch the field or to really be a threat. And I feel like even when we've seen Shabilko successful, it's been sometimes either along Sergio Santos or
yeah,
where the wing play from the Union was getting involved, and where he can kind of find those soft spots or pockets. And yeah, he can get him behind a little bit, but that's not really his job, is to stretch the field. Um, it's to benefit from the space and the movement around him. So I think when I've looked at this Fire lineup so far, they seem really strong defensively. I like the back line, but they just haven't been. I haven't found any real dynamic pieces to like really open up the
yeah,
field or just to like even pose some questions of other teams' backline. So you're just waiting maybe for a set piece for Shaqiri or a moment of magic, which he hasn't really found yet,
yeah,
based on just like his international appearances and injuries. So still kind of holding out hope. I think some of it is a personnel decision that they're going to need to like go out and address. Because I look down the bench, even some of the decisions that they have to make when they're making substitutions are like, yeah, like Bornstein comes in, but that he's more of a player you want to kind of like shut down
sure.
a team than to like really stretch it, to really push a game. So they just don't really have a ton of options right now, I think,
Yeah,
when I'm looking at that bench.
yeah, and that's what's worrying is that it's kind of like where does it come from? There was a game, it was a few weeks ago, maybe it was against SKC. I think they won like 3-1. And I thought perhaps I was like, oh, we were seeing glimpses like Shaqiri was playing and he like that sort of like, stretching the field, finding players in front of him. And I felt very optimistic. I remember this was like week 4. And I was like, oh, here we go. Like, Chicago Fire's gonna start. This is where it starts. And then it's just been a complete regression ever
The
since.
the thing I will say though is, I mean, I think they learned a very difficult lesson on Wednesday night against Detroit City um, at home, but having to play 120 minutes and then to lose, that's like
Yeah.
basically like worst case scenario. And they actually held firm in this match, and could see this game. Like you could see this. This had like 0-0 written all over it. So you would like, maybe if you logged on right now, you'd be like, oh, 3-0, like the Fire, we're not good enough. But if according to the plan that they play, they can still execute on that. What happened was
Yeah.
the red card to Navarro changed the game, and then from then on, and then the one error comes, and then the wheels fall off. But I still think this team can like survive and gut out performances and rely on that back line and get into the playoffs. I think that's realistic for them, but I do think they are going to need to eventually go out and add some pieces.
Yeah.
Whether that could even be within the league when you look around and find some more dynamic playmakers or wingers that might be able to add some pace to the attack.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really good point. Okay, let's move it along to. Oh, this is interesting. This was a very, very an unexpected result, at least from my perspective. DC hosting the New England Revolution. DC with the 3-2 win. Now, I just to give everyone some context here. Okay, obviously, earlier this week, Hernan Losada announced, the club announced that they were parting ways with him. Chad Ashton acting, he is the assistant. He is now the interim head coach. So there's a lot of changes going on, DC United. So this it's always interesting to see how a team responds after something like this happens. So I'm going to meet Kaylin at a bar in Brooklyn, and I'm following on my phone. I'm like watching this game on my phone, and Brandon By had scored a fairly like early goal. It was like I think in like the 20th minute maybe, and I was like, oh okay, and I was like, cool, like New England's got a 1-0 lead. So go to the bar. Kaylin's there. We're like, hey, what's up? We kind of like catch up for like 10 minutes, and then we turn on. This is how dedicated we are to MLS and the league. We whip out my laptop at the bar, turn on the game, and we're watching it. And all of a sudden, DC was up like 3-1. We were like, what? Like it was just wild. So they scored 3 goals in the first half. It was completely crazy. So we had to kind of catch up and see how the heck this all happened. And it was the new DP, Kaylin Taxi Fountas, the Greek god of scoring goals for DC United. That I mean, his first 2 goals for DC, and that first one was really. I mean, it was a stunning strike.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just what a. I guess this is what you want to see from your team. If you go through a little bit of adversity, this is a good response from DC.
Yeah. Well, first of all, surprisingly more difficult than you would imagine to request a DC versus Boston soccer match at a Brooklyn pub during a Brooklyn Nets game playoff game.
We are such nerds. We're like, oh no, we're watching soccer. Thank you.
Yeah, they're like DC and who? Boston? No. Like the team that's beating the Nets? No. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it looked like Bruce Arena probably would have rather have been at the
Yeah.
Celtics game for this one, and it looked like Carlos Hill was not happy through
Oh,
large
good.
stretches
Yeah.
of this match too. Like his reaction, and I think they got out to a really good start in this one, whereby finishes really well. And then there was that sort of transition period that we missed a bunch of. But I think it's like I have questions. One, I'm not surprised from the DC perspective because and I've been in locker rooms where a coach gets fired
Yeah.
and that change happens. And like, yeah, everybody, it creates for a team that hasn't been in good form, like it creates a sense of urgency and a sense of like responsibility in the sense that you understand that somebody's out the door. And different guys had different feelings. We heard sort of a range of reactions, even from guys that were in the locker room or had been in locker rooms. And so I wasn't surprised to see DC's response. You feel for the manager or the ex-manager a little bit
Yeah.
because you saw what Fountas was able to do, right? And what a difference maker he was. Like
No.
just the way that how quick he is, his movement. He was everywhere. He was involved. He was for players where you're like, you need some time to adjust. He didn't even need longer than a first half.
Oh,
Like came out flying.
I will say, like, there was a part of me that was like, my heart is breaking for Hernan Lozada right now. Like, if he is watching this, like, he must be like, what is going on? Like, what? Like, I did think of that. I know.
Yeah,
Not the,
that's
not,
a tough one. The
that's a tough
timing.
one. That's a
The
tough one.
timing is tough.
It's
For
a little brutal.
what do you feel about New England? Because we've been talking about this team for a while, and like
Yeah. Well, they
every
had
time we
chances,
think,
Kaylin.
yeah,
They definitely, they definitely had some chances. I know Josie had one. I think you might have been offside on that one header that he had, but they had Buxa had a couple at the end, and Kempen made some great
Yeah, big
saves.
save.
So they had chances. I'm not terribly worried about the Revs. I kind of think like this like sort of early season malaise is just a little bit of a blip on the radar. I think overall they're going to be okay. I trust Bruce Arena. I think their roster is super talented enough. They've had a whole bunch of injuries that they've had to deal with, and they almost got back in this one. Like they were definitely like if this game had gone into like if there was like more extra time, I think they probably would have found that equalizer. But yeah, I mean, just for me, this was more of like a really good response from DC, who had a kind of a crazy roller coaster of a week. I also think this is it's interesting. The perfect start for a guy like Chad Ashton, who, as I said, is the interim head coach. And by all accounts, like if you ask anybody in MLS circles, like everybody loves this guy. Like the players love him, personnel loves him. He's been around the league forever. He's just incredibly well respected. And in the same way that we saw guys like Pablo Mastreni last year and Vanni Sartini come in as, the interim head coach after a coach has been dismissed and then go on to earn that head coaching position. And there's some thought that this could be what DC are potentially looking at this point. And so this was like a perfect start for him. Like I said, by all accounts, he's a really great guy. So I was happy for him. A little bit gutted for Hernan, and I'm more sad for my power rankings, my best dressed coaches power rankings, because Hernan was very high on my list, and it happened like Lucci left us. I feel like
It's been
every
a tough year.
it's like
Yeah.
this call up curse. Like, don't get voted a best dressed coach, otherwise you will get fired. Like, and I don't want that. I don't want that bad juju
Yeah.
following me around.
Do you
That's not
think
good.
coaches might actually start dressing worse as a result?
What if like I'm to blame for just like a horrible fashion influx in MLS? I can't
Yeah.
bear that burden. That's not fair. That's not fair. I think
I was going to name some names, but I'm not going to.
don't you dare
Uh,
not go there. Forget it. Forget about it.
yeah,
Uh,
I think New England is going to figure it out.
yeah, I do too.
I think
I'm not
Buxa
worried.
looked much more dangerous tonight. I think on a better night he maybe gets another one. There's
Yeah,
no Gustavo Bo. Matt Turner is still out. I
yeah.
think you can ask some questions about maybe one of those goals at least, and you think, okay, Turner seems like the type that's been able to pull something,
Sure.
a rabbit out of the hat at times. And so I think Josie's going to find his footing. He's still kind of like getting integrated and back to his form, which is tougher to do off the bench, even for a
Yeah,
player of his experience. Like when you're used to playing from the start, it's difficult to kind of build those minutes and that continuity and that confidence coming off the bench. So I'd expect to see more from him as well. So, and then even guys like
totally.
Sebastian Lletget, I just think like some of the change, there's been a lot of changes at once, and they haven't all been together to really kind of find their form. So it is concerning, but I feel like this was a bad game, bad timing for them when you're kind
Totally.
of on that edge where you're playing against a DC team that responded super well and then had this like incredible debut from Taxi.
I agree.
You should just go by Taxi. If your first name is
Taxi
Taxi,
sounds
with all the like, I think we had like, Keaton
yeah.
Parks has his first name on the back. If your first name is
Taxi.
Taxi, just rock that on the back of your kit.
Yeah, also just like think of all the like merch and like it's like this. It's
Also,
just
I support Keaton Parks doing it because I think American players should go one name as well. I support that
putting it out there.
movement overall, but I think Taxi. I'm just more trying to
I agree. Listen,
add to the list.
it is a hell of a first name. I love it. Here for it. All right, let's talk about Philly hosting Montreal. This one ended in a 1-1 draw. Philly struck first in this game, a PK for Julian Carranza. But Kai freaking Kamara, still scoring goals. 37 years young, and he is still scoring goals. And this was a really, really nice one. He made a nice little late run into the box off of the feed from Ramel Kyoto, puts it away. That is 132 MLS goals for Kai Kalen.
Mm.
130.
Where does that put him?
He is one off of Jaime Moreno, who has
Wow.
133. Yeah.
Amazing.
And he's guy's going to be 38 in September and he's still scoring goals and like making it look easy. And this was a quality goal too. This wasn't just like a tap in. This was like a really great run. And he just announced his retirement from the Sierra Leone national team. So bravo Kai, congratulations. What a career you've had. But it just makes me happy to see him doing well. And also, I love him on this Montreal team. I love him on this Montreal team. I'm super pumped for them. They started off the season with 3 consecutive losses. They are now unbeaten in their last 5. I think that we had my expectations for them were definitely like a playoff team at the start of the season, and I feel like the last like few weeks this was a big result. I mean, Philadelphia is arguably the best team in the league. They're playing at home to get a point on the road, and to come from behind is a great result. It's a great result for them. I've been super impressed with Montreal, Kaylin.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I think Philly's going to be a little bit disappointed because I think they were looking at this as a game to kind of get back on track, and that didn't happen. Kai's run, I was just watching it back because you were mentioning it, does so well. Like he just jab steps kind of to drag Glesnes just for a second
Yeah,
to the back post and then steps in front. I think he's already exceeded expectations, and I was just kind of reflecting back on this time where he was a free agent. He played in Finland last year, and it was like kind of like, oh, is he just playing in a way to be able to um, maintain his form and fitness for AFCON and the national team there? But then now coming with Montreal, and you're like, oh, that's a nice story. But I mean, he's done everything so far. He's come from the start. He scored goals, kind of getting in behind. This one is more of a like kind of a great run in the box where Kyoto does a good job stretching the field out wide. He's done goal line clearances so far this season. He's really done it all, and it's really a testament, I think, to the way his game has matured. Even with Sierra Leone in AFCON, he would drop underneath and hold the ball up and help facilitate or play almost like in a more of a midfield role at times. So his game is just really matured. The only thing I would add that's really awesome, I saw him tweet also that his daughter scored 5 goals this morning. His Kieran, his son Kendrick scored 2. His youngest son is named Kalen.
Kaylin.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's too young to score goals yet, but he probably would if he like maybe in his crib.
Oh my
So
god,
they were saying, "Can you be the today's high scorer?" He had, I think, a family member text him, and he was like, "No, the kids beat me today." So,
that's
but congrats to Kai.
amazing. Oh, I love that so much talent. Oh man, do you know it's funny because like I almost forget. I forget that he was a free agent last year. I forget that he like wasn't playing in MLS last year. Like that's how
He
like
was on the beach in Sierra Leone, like
like
training on runs, and then like going on live to be like, "Hey, I'm just looking for a team. Like, what's up?"
guy is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
But
I
that's
love
kind of
it.
what Montreal has done. You know, they've
Yeah.
gone out and gotten players that maybe haven't been. I mean, maybe not complete free agents, but they've done such a good job of going out from like Kamal Miller to Georgi Mihailovic to like Kyoto to
Yeah.
so many players. When you just look across their roster that have either been kind of sleeper picks or maybe
Yep.
fell out of form or out of favor in different positions and brought into Wilfred Nancy's system. So big credit to the front office and to Nancy as well for getting this group playing because they're playing really well.
They are playing really well. They're super fun to watch. For me, again, I like this is a team that's going to make the playoffs, and I think that they're they're just one of these like dark horse teams. I'm don't you be sleeping on Montreal, kids.
And I
Considering
just went on Twitter and Dax McCarty or on Instagram. Dax just had
yes,
a baby.
Dax McCarty and his lovely wife Jen just welcomed their second son, a little boy named Owen. He did not travel with the team to LA because she was very pregnant. I actually saw them both when I was in Nashville the other week,
Nice.
and she was like, "I'm ready to give birth. Like, let's go. so Dax did not travel with the team, but for very good reason. He is absolutely precious, and we
Cool.
are sending them all our very best. Baby and mama look like they're doing great. So that is wonderful to hear. We love that. It's a good way to end the MLS After Dark
Yeah.
in real life.
Now go watch the Nashville game.
Now
It's
go
no
watch the
no.
Nashville. Kaylin and I are going to reconvene in the same room once again, and probably, yeah, continue our festivities. But we appreciate y'all listening, tuning in. Enjoy the rest of the soccer this weekend, and we will see you all very soon. Have a good one, guys.